we're talking about emotional intelligence. And if you're new in ministry, or you're preparing for ministry in the future, or even if you need a refresher, we're just going to talk about some ways that you can develop greater emotional intelligence. And by that we simply mean that you're more aware of your own feelings and you're responding appropriately to them, and you're aware of the emotions of others and you're responding appropriately to them. That's a lot of what ministry is all about. And so we're going to talk about some practices, maybe some thoughts that will help you develop in that area. And the first one, I really love this. Matt, I think prayer and worship has a role to play, doesn't it? Tell us about how that might work.
Yeah, I think when we're in a situation where we're trying to perceive something, prayer is really essential to that whole process. One of the things that I've noticed about prayer is sometimes you have a coincidence where your prayer is answered, but the main thing that I see happening when I pray is that I get changed.
Yeah.
That change comes to me, whether that's a different perspective or whether I have this centered peace in the middle of a crisis. Prayer really is key, and if we're missing that, we're missing out.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's such an important. You mentioned perspective. You mentioned having emotional peace. I mean, that's huge in dealing with crisis and different things. Yeah.
I think too, worship is a powerful tool. There's such power in music, especially in declaring truth about who God is back to Him, that's going to just kind of lift you out of a chaos or out of a mess. And so we saw that with David and King Saul.
And great point.
So I think worshiping God is going to be a powerful weapon in the process of even ministry in general.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Ashton, what do you think about that? You've thought a lot about worship, I know.
Yeah. Wow. Well, man, I mean, I was going to list a different example, but that got me going on another thought, so I'm going to say the other thought.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament, we do see a lot of example of like musicians going out in front of the army and actually, playing their instruments and kind of declaring the praise of the Lord, and something will shift. The army gets more courage. They start to see, who's actually fighting their battles is God, right?
Right.
And so they're starting to see the greater picture. This is what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they're both their emotional and their spiritual intelligence, their eyes are being opened to the greater reality of what's happening.
Yeah, that's good.
And so that's kind of the example that came to mind.
No, that's great. So we when we're in worship and prayer, we see things differently.
Yeah.
We see things more as they really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that affects our perception of our emotions and the emotions of other people.
Correct. Yeah.
Now kind of related to that, there's certain practices that help us to slow down a little bit. Prayer can be that. Worship can be that, but let's play that out a little bit. Let's talk about how reflective practices in our lives can help us to develop greater emotional intelligence.
Wow. Well, that's good. Well, Matt said it really well. If we stop and we begin with prayer and we start aligning our vision, our purpose, and our will with God and His, I think that laying our will down is probably the first step in that.
Okay, good.
Because God is the creator of emotions. He's the creator of emotional intelligence. Yeah. If we can actually kind of set aside our agenda and get in line with Him and His plan, I think that really is the starting place for developing all the rest that will come in that way. So that's the first thought on that. I don't know if that's specific enough for you. But,
but there's many specific ways to do that different people have tried or different people have taught that help that happen, but that's the underlying thing that has to happen, right?
Right, you have to still yourself, and I think that as we do that and as external factors kind of fall away, we realize that God is speaking all the time, and we can actually hear His voice, and to hone into that intelligence that is available to us with connecting with Him. And I think that's why Jesus was brilliant, the most brilliant man to ever walk the earth, is because He was fully engaged all the time with what God was doing, with what the Father was doing. Yeah. And He's, I think, the most emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, for sure. And He took time to go be alone, to go pray, to go. know that Jesus kept a journal. We don't. Pretty sure he didn't. But
he didn't have his journal and coffee time in the morning?
Journaling would be good. That would be good.
If you ever did it.
If you ever did it. I wish I could journal. The beauty of that is you can go back and process your thoughts, and then, you know, you're 10 years down the road looking back, you know, at your life, what you'd experienced. The other thing I think, I don't know, it's okay for a pastor to take a vacation.
Amen.
And
Amen.
I think you have to evaluate, how does that vacation work? And you're going to need a couple days to detach, and then you have a couple days where you're just in that place of rest. Well, then what typically happens is you're ramping up, and you need a couple of days to ramp up. So for some people, you know, a normal 7-day vacation or a week vacation might not actually be enough. So I think that's another.
To give us enough space in our head and our schedule to actually be aware of emotional life, and to realize what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and what other people around us are feeling. That's a really great point. I love that. So one of the things that I think I guess the final thing I want to encourage people as they watch this video is how important it is to get feedback from other people about our emotional life. How have you experienced that?
You know, I wonder if in your church, if you're the lead guy, if people have permission to give you honest feedback. And maybe you need to pick a couple of people you really respect who know their Bible and give them some kind of an evaluation to get feedback on your message. Even that small of a thing, I think, can help people feel comfortable even to approach you if there's something that's going on. So I think that's an important practice. And then, of course, you have your spouse. Hopefully your spouse is that one key person in your life that can tell you where you're at. Now, my spouse won't watch this probably, but she told me today, you know, the message the last couple weeks, they were a little light. You know, so I have to kind of take that and evaluate that and really see, hey, maybe she's got a point.
That's funny.
We have to be willing to receive the feedback.
And
even like you mentioned, maybe finding a couple leaders. We have to, I think, be willing to initiate that we want feedback, or people that probably won't do it.
And I think if I could add one more thing, the idea is not perfection. Here. We're not after perfection, but I think if your staff or these people that have that role in your life know, hey, it's my heart's desire to be better, to be better emotionally, to be a better leader, and if they know that and they realize you're looking for feedback on how you can be better, I think everybody wins.
That's a great point. What do you think, Ashton, about that? About feedback?
Well, I think that feedback does take humility to start with, and to realize maybe I don't know everything in this situation. And so I think that as we step forward in humility and looking forward to grow, and we realize that we have something new to learn from every person, even people that we're leading in ministry. There's appropriate levels of feedback that we can get even from those folks that. I think the problem becomes is if we think that we have it all together, that's actually, you know, that headstrong mentality, that's really, that's just the opposite of being emotionally intelligent. You know, because to be emotionally intelligent, I think does presume that, hey, I don't know everything here, and I need to seek the feedback of other people to help me develop that. And the more that we do that, the more, I think it just helps to build that more and more, that, you know, developing that emotional
for sure. It really does. It helps other people feel like we're approachable. And you know, I would just say part of this is that some of us are pretty clueless about our emotional life. You know, and I know in the past, the family that I grew up in was not very emotionally expressive, and so I grew up with kind of the inability to see and understand. So I've needed feedback a lot from other people just to tell me, oh, this is what's going on in the emotional universe that you're in right now. This is what's going on. And did you see that person's look? Or did you hear that tone of voice? And I said, no, I didn't. But I think I maybe will from here on out, you know.
Yeah. I was just going to jump in with that too, Ross, real quick. It's easy for things to get blown out of proportion in our own minds sometimes, and when we have somebody else that we can trust, like a mentor, somebody that we're looking up to kind of normalize what's happening, and to say, oh, that is a valid, emotion that you're feeling, or that is just way out of proportion. You need to kind of tone that down a bit. It's very helpful to have people that you respect that can, and if you have a few of those people, it can help normalize that even more, and to develop that.
Or to help me think through, why are you feeling the feeling that you felt? You
Yeah,
got angry, why?
Yeah.
What's underneath that in you, in your heart, that led to that feeling of discouragement or whatever it was?
That might be one of the most important aspects.
Yeah, the why.
The why, yeah.
Well, hopefully this is helpful to you as you develop emotional intelligence in your own life. God's going to use that because ministry is people, and people are emotional. God created us as emotional beings, so we want to honor that. And so we trust that you'll learn some things from this series about how you can be more effective in handling your own emotions and the emotions of people around you.